have a business case. The business case should clearly articulate what is the end state and outcome that particular transformation initiative is going to help the organization achieve. And the second most important thing is to get an absolute buy-in and project sponsorship from the leadership.
Hello everyone, this is Dr. Mustafa AlMuzel. Today we will be talking about digital transformation, specifically about digital transformation journeys within companies and organizations. More specifically, we will talk about how AI and data can enable digital transformation. To cover the subject, joining us today, Nagaraj Padmanabhan, over 20 years of global experience in digital transformation, AI and data. Also joining us, Hanni, 20 years of global experience in digital transformation, financial services, and technology. So many organizations today allocate big investments into digital transformation. But how do we really distinguish between a company that is doing real digital transformation versus a company that is just allocating or investing high investments without real digital transformation?
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked this question because the true digital transformation is how organizations or enterprise creates value, delivers value, and captures value. Now, what do I mean by that? A true digital transformation should fundamentally change the way organizational business model works and create value for the enterprise shareholders. If I have to take an example of Dublin's innovation framework, any digital transformation initiatives and engagement should be linked to outcomes such as how does organization increase their revenue, improve their profits, increase the customer acquisition, how do they reduce the customer churn? Because all of these things are linked to an outcome which will add value to the enterprise. Anything which does not fundamentally change the way organization operates and the operating model does not change, for me, it's just a mere upgrade and not a transformation. Hanni?
I believe it should be a multifaceted transformation that cuts across multiple functions across the organization and that is truly transversal front to back. And as Nagaraj mentioned, it really plays on those key levers and KPIs, whether it's revenue growth, new revenue streams, monetization of data or assets, or bringing new products to market. But it's really that end-to-end transformation. Or as Nagaraj mentioned, then it just becomes an incremental upgrade or enhancement or modernization of a specific capability, and then you can't really call it an end-to-end transformation.
Yeah, and we would go one step further to tell that any organization, whether it's a public sector or a private enterprise, is thinking of embarking on digital transformation program before even thinking of investments should be tied very, very closely to the value that will create. It could be also around the introduction of new products and services, improving the performance of existing product services. It has to, bottom line is, as Hanni said and I told, that it has to be linked to a business outcome and the way the enterprise works.
Great. I want to kind of move into misconceptions around digital transformation. And maybe I would start with giving an example in a project and all the projects that I have worked on where everything was paper-based, and then the department started to pushing all of that away. They started using cloud, right? Using tools such as Google Drive, OneDrive, to upload forms, fill out the forms, send them by email, and then transferring those documents by emails. Is that really digital transformation? Because in here we haven't really moved into a deeper level of digital transformation. It is kind of something very shallow, I would say.
Yeah, I think that specific example, going paperless, it might be an incremental step towards digitization or digital transformation. But at the end of the day, if your processes, if your workflow are not completely transformed, your ways of working, your ways of transacting, if that remains the same, you're just shifting it from one medium to another, that's definitely not a digital transformation. It may be an incremental incremental step or an enabler that helps you move towards digitization and digital transformation. But on its own, definitely going paperless, I don't believe it's a digital transformation.
We have to start from the procedures, like thinking about the procedure before we even get into that.
I mean, so I agree with Hanni. The short answer to your first example is no. That is not digital transformation at all. As an example, I would not talk about procedure or process. The outcome should be business driven. Again, let's take an example of enterprise which exists to create value to the shareholders, and they exist to create profit. I'm talking about not for profit organizations, right? So enterprise which are for profitable institutions, think about it. Any enterprise will have products, services, customers, partners, channels, employees, process, and so on and so forth. So whenever we are starting a digital transformation program, whenever an enterprise is thinking of embarking on a digital transformation program, they need to start with which of these one they're going to get value out of that. You need to start from there, and for each of these areas, there are key levers and sub-levers. And I'll give you an example. So if we say, let's say, talk about increasing the revenue by 10%, and we want to come up with a digital transformation initiative, which takes the organization or enterprise from going from X to 10% more. How do we increase the revenue? There are multiple ways. I think one of the way you could increase the revenue is to come up with a new product or service. Another way is to expand into new geography. Third is to work with another partner which create a new revenue stream. So there are many levers and sub-levers based on which you can increase the revenue. So when we talk about a digital transformation initiative, in this specific example, we should be able to link it back to what are all the levers or sub-levers it is going to help the enterprise to increase the revenue.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's about rewiring your value chain. It's about rewiring your business processes, your go-to-market, and really re-looking at your business model. At the end of the day, what differentiates a technology transformation from a digital transformation is tech for tech, whereas in a digital transformation, it's tech for business. So I think that's the distinction between both types of transformations.
Great. Well, now that we have talked about, I would say, definitions, understanding maybe the concept digital transformation, I would like to kind of get practical somehow into the phase of implementation, right? What things needs to be considered within organizations when they decide to implement such a project, like a digital transformation project within an organization. How should they start? Where should they start?
So it's a great question again. I think there are two most important things I would say. The first one is to start with the end state in mind. Going back, what is the outcome the enterprise wants to achieve based on the digital transformation initiative they want to embark on? The second most important thing is to have an absolutely unwavering support and sponsorship from the leadership team of the enterprise. Because without the support from the leadership team, where we are clearly articulating the business case for the digital transformation, no one should start. So two things. Have a business case. The business case should clearly articulate what is the end state and outcome that particular transformation initiative is going to help the organization achieve. And the second most important thing is to get an absolute buy-in and project sponsorship from the leadership.
Yeah, that's super important, because without that, without bringing everyone onto the same page and taking everyone in the organization along for the journey, you're not going to be able to meet your desired outcomes. Because at the end of the day, transformations are very complicated and they require resources, capacity, and capability from across the organization, whether it's front office, front-line sales, back office, operations, your IT teams, facilities management, you name it. You're going to need the whole organization on board for the transformation to succeed. So back to Nagaraj's point, if you don't have a crystal clear end goal in mind and you cannot articulate your vision from top down, it's very difficult to drive such a transformation.
And at the risk of sounding cliche, the change management is equally important. That goes back to whatever Hanni is talking about. It is very, very important for the entire team which is going to be involved in the initiative, and the resources who are going to be impacted by the initiative, to clearly understand the benefits for them as well.
Great, great. So what about the role of AI? We kind of touched on AI a little bit, but what is the role of AI within the digital transformation journey? Is AI is kind of the supportive
I'll give my view, and I'll let Nagaraj double down on it. But in my view, AI is a technological enabler, just like any other enabler that's come and gone or come and stayed, right? At the end of the day, it's how you harness it. It's how you leverage AI and the use cases that you develop that will really extract or, get you the value that you're looking for. But I think before we talk about jumping into AI as a digital transformation enabler, what a lot of people seem to miss is setting up the foundations from the very beginning. What I like to say is you need to crawl before you walk, you need to walk before you run, you need to run before you fly. A lot of organizations and C-suite executives are using AI as the buzzword of the day. They want to fly. But at the end of the day, they don't know how to crawl yet, they don't know how to walk yet, they don't know how to run yet. And what do I mean by crawl, walk, and run when it comes to AI? It's really setting up the foundations to ensure you have the right data, you have the right data governance in place, you have the right integrity and quality rules on your data for you to be able to not only come up with those AI use cases, but leverage the data you have as an enterprise asset to drive transformation and drive value for the organization. Being in the Middle East, we talk about commodities and oil being a huge value for the region. The way things are shifting, data is going to be the new oil, in my view.
I think he covered it. I think AI, to keep it simple, it's an icing on the cake. It's not the cake or the layers of cake. Which is what Hanni was giving as an example, having the foundations right. So to give an analogy using chess as a sport, I think to get the best outcome from the AI and AI technologies, the starting place should be your data. Your data is as good as the outcome which you can get out of, in this case we're talking about AI as a technology, but any technology enabler, if you're talking about, you need to have an absolutely clean and meaningful data to derive business value out of it. So data is like chess pieces. You cannot, win the game of chess without having all the pieces on a chessboard to work for you. Then we talk about, in order to get the best value out of it, it is a given that enterprise need to have processing power and storage. That's where cloud comes into picture. So adoption of cloud and along with cloud services and technology plays a key role. Why? It powers such projects and transformation initiatives, which is like a chessboard. You need to have a chessboard, then you have your chess piece, which is your data. What is the next important thing? As a chess player, if you think about it, it is extremely important to understand your markets, your product, your services, your customers, your competitors, to be able to think from all possible perspectives to make a move. So movement is like machine learning. And finally, when you do a checkmate, that's AI. But right now, across the globe, including in the region, that there is a lot of discussion and investments being announced on the AI, but AI is the final layer. Of course, we do have some fantastic work which is being done in this part of the world, and especially in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, with likes of Sadaya and NDMO. They have thought through from the very beginning that data is crucial to get the best out of AI, and that's where you could see a lot of standards, framework, everything is being introduced. But in terms of adoption, where organizations are really understanding the importance of data before going into piloting AI and getting the best of it, I think there is a scope for improvement for sure. And that's where consulting firms like Strategic Gears comes into picture to help think through the entire journey from foundation to or rather cake layers to getting the icing of cake.
Absolutely.
So speaking of data, how can we utilize data in making better decisions within companies?
I think it starts with really treating data as you would any other enterprise asset. I think a lot of organizations, a lot of enterprises, a lot of corporations still do not really care about data the way they care about any of their other, physical or, IP assets, right? Once they start respecting data as an enterprise asset and attaching a value to it and really caring about the quality, the ownership and the governance, then we can start, extracting value with use cases. And I think to my point earlier, the way we can start to unlock value from data is really having a clear set of business-led use cases that use the data, interpret the data, and actually get insights out of that data, which can help in making data-driven decisions.
Absolutely. I think he's covered it. The way I would look at it is, I think a lot of enterprises, even today, are looking at data as an asset for reporting. Organizations need to transform, instead of looking at data as an asset for reporting, to data to drive business decisions. And for that to happen, it is extremely important to catalog different type of data assets an organization has got, and also take into consideration the regulatory requirement and the other frameworks introduced in the region to be able to classify the data to get the best out of the use cases.
What is the core value of people versus AI? What is something that AI cannot provide, and people should relax and make sure that AI is not going to do it? Because in today's market, we see AI doing everything, right? So what distinguishes AI from human being?
So my precisely that's the point. I think my take is the judgment. And I'm just going to borrow the classical trolley car problem from one of the Harvard ethics classes. Just to keep it very short, what it is the trolley car problem states the following, right? Let's say you are the person in charge for changing the track when the train is on the track. You have two tracks. On one track, there are 5 people who are stuck. On another track, there is one individual who is stuck. And you have the power to decide to let the train continue in the same track where there is one individual, or to change the track and send the train to another track where there are 5 individuals. What is the right thing to do?
What is it?
What's the right thing to do? No one is judging here.
There's no right answer, right?
There is no right answer, correct? But it requires a judgment. Depending on people, some might think, there is a utilitarian thinking which comes into picture. Some individuals might think, it is better to save 5 lives compared to 1 life. But without knowing the background, whether that 1 life is more precious and maybe they are single bred winner of the family, right? There is nothing right or wrong. I think AI has not come to a stage where it can actually mimic human intelligence and judgment. And a lot of the AI and morality. And a lot of the AI we are talking about, I think this is also again some things, people loosely use it. I think AI has become extremely popular right now because of Gen AI. And what is Gen AI? It's a generative AI. You can generate content, you can generate music, you can generate pictures, you can generate code, right? That is AI. Can the AI actually apply morality, ethics, judgment? Not yet. Is it happening there? Is it getting there? Yes. I think there is already work on from AI to AGI. If you think of AGI is actually artificial general intelligence. And what's the difference? AI is more subject and very focused, and AGI is going to be including human-like intelligence. So that's my view. I don't think people should be worried. In fact, people should be extremely happy that there's something called AI has come into picture, and they can be really smart about leveraging and adapting AI to be on top of the game.
Sure. I mean, different jobs would be created out of AI, but it shouldn't be replacing the current jobs.
I think to the point earlier, people are now having to move to higher value roles. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, right?
Not pushing people out of the market.
Exactly. If you look at any of the industrial revolutions, the advent of electricity or the steam-powered train, for example, that may have disrupted some professions, but ultimately it moved people to become more efficient and more effective in what they do to create value.
Yeah, like any other inventions and innovations, there's going to be new set of skills, capability expected, roles will come up, and it's up to us as humans to continue to adapt, just like how we have changed and transformed and adapting whenever the new technologies come into picture. And I personally believe, again, Hanni and I have had multiple conversations around it. I think the next 10-15 years is going to belong to people, professionals who have the ability to identify the problems which are worth solving at scale. Because AI is as good as you can leverage the benefits from AI only when you as an individual know what are the problems worth solving. And that's a gift of intelligence we still have, and people should tap into it.
How can we keep up with AI and with all the rapid changes that are happening?
I think we discussed having a growth mindset or a culture of growth, right? You need to learn new skills every day. You need to keep abreast with the news, the dynamics in the market, new products, new developments. I think we're all constantly learning, no matter what level we are, up until the day we die. As long as there's a willingness to learn and grow every day, then we can keep up with these changes, right? At the end of the day.
That's a core competency, right? The ability to learn. We need those to have this spirit of student.
If you look at our industry in consulting, we have to be adaptable, right? And that keeps us learning new things and evolving every day.
No, absolutely. And look, for me personally, my mantra is, again, borrow from Steve Jobs, stay hungry, stay foolish. If you want to be relevant, not for now, next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, irrespective of what stage you are in your career, whether you're a partner, you're a senior partner, you're an equity partner, you're an analyst, stay hungry, stay foolish, keep learning.
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of the beauty of consulting field, right? Where every day there's a new problem, new client, new problem, new scopes, and you would have to improve and learn new capabilities, develop your skills to kind of meet the expectations out there in the market. So how can we do that within an organizational level? Like you kind of touched on a personal level, but if you're a decision maker today in any organizations, what guidelines you would put to make sure that your teams are up to date?
So to start with, I'm a firm believer that no guidelines, no policy can motivate people to learn. So my mantra is to lead from the front and you inspire the team. I think it is very, very important to create a sense of followership through inspiration than guidelines, KPIs, and policies. And what I personally do and what we are seeing now, which Hanni is doing, I'm doing is in our very own organizations, because we are still hands-on, we are writing codes and we are building machine learning and AI models. There are so many of the analysts and consultants and managers who have approached us saying, can you please take a masterclass for us? We also want to learn. And why it is coming from them is because now they are looking at it as an inspiration. Okay, after spending 2 decades plus in consulting and after getting whatever, reasonably doing well and having the growth and advising client, if you and Hanni can continuously invest in yourself and do it, there shouldn't be anything which should stop me from doing it. So I believe how to make sure this at an organizational is lead from the front. And the way I look at it is who gives the license in the consulting industry for the leaders in consulting industry to stop learning. No, it should be the other way. The learning should start at the top to create a sense of inspiration and followership, and the entire organization will follow. That's my take.
Yeah, no, I think we spoke about culture before, right? So having those interventions, whether or not they're formalized, I agree with Nagaraj. You can always have the carrot and stick technique of motivating people, but unless it comes organically and it's something that's within your DNA as an organization that you promote and you also give that creative liberty and freedom to people, it needs to come naturally, and it needs to be done by the top management and leadership, right? It needs to be top down, as we discussed.
Great. Hanni and Nagaraj, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.